Hello everyone and welcome to another Adobe Live here in the UK, where you'll find us every day between 12 and 1. Now, if you're on YouTube watching this, then that's just fine. But of course, if you want to get involved and get into the chat and ask questions, then you need to be on behance.net/Adobe Live. That's the best place to be. And today we're in for a real treat. We are joined by Matt Vandeputte. Hey Matt, how you doing?
Appreciate that pronunciation of my surname very much. Thank you.
Well, we practiced about 8 times before we went live.
I'm good. I'm very good. I have had, I think, a coffee too many this morning. I'm feeling a bit shaky. Maybe it's nerves, but I doubt it. Yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. This is my second live with you guys. It's always a pleasure.
It is. No, it's fantastic to have you here. Really, really good. Let me just have a quick shout out to a few of the people in the chat before we get started, Matt, just because we have some people that come here every day. We have people from all over the world, actually, that join us. Amazingly, we get people from as far afield as New Zealand. So we have a guy called Steve who joins us from New Zealand. We have Bob who joins us from Arizona. I don't know if he's here today, but we've also got Sean and Andreas from Germany. We've got Kirsty here. Hi, Kirsty. We've got Sandrine. Hi for Sandrine. And Steve. Oh, Steve is here. There you go. He's here from New Zealand. Gareth is here. Really looking forward to an After Effects based stream, which is excellent. Angus is here. Hi, Angus. And don't forget, people, your questions, pop them in the chat. And if I get a chance as we go through, then, of course, I'll put them to Matt. So, Matt, for people who've never met you before and never come across your work, tell us, and I find that really difficult to believe, but anyway, tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Matthew Vandeputte, so you were close with that pronunciation.
Oh, no cigar then.
I am. I call myself a hyperlapse photographer. It's what I've specialized in, which is, it's a niche within a niche. Yeah, pretty much that. So hyperlapse photography is a sort of time lapse where you move the camera over a long period of time and over a long distance, and you shoot a subject, and it makes everything look very cool. I can't really remember if we talked about it last time. I think we tried to put in a little bit of hyperlapse shooting / editing, but today I'd like to talk more about, specific workflows for that and advanced stabilization and editing in After Effects. And I think hopefully by the end of today, everyone's going to walk away with a new skill set, because it's really not that hard. It looks super impressive. Anytime someone sees a hyperlapse for the first time, they're like, how did you do that? Was that on a big rail, or is that with a drone? Or but no, it's very simple to do. I'm sure you make it look much easier than it actually is in reality, but at least people get an idea and some inspiration from it. So, well, I guess the best bet then, Matt, is to take it away as we go through. We can take a look at some other things, of course, as well, such as your Instagram, which is fantastic, as well, and a couple of other things we'll chat as we go. So, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with talking about the process for a bit? Or I think, probably a good idea to get a bit of a basic understanding of how you shoot a hyperlapse, which is based obviously on time-lapse. So time-lapse, the concept is you shoot photos over an extended period of time at a fixed interval to create a high resolution, high dynamic range, high quality video file. The reason you don't shoot that as a video and then speed it up is because, battery, storage, dynamic range, resolution, all those things are limited when you shoot it as a video. So first up, we're working with a series of photos. Now, luckily, After Effects recognizes a series of photos as a sequence, just like it would recognize a video sequence. So that's quite simple. But there's some little tips and tricks that make it much easier to edit that sequence of photos that we'll go over today. So a hyperlapse, what do you need for that? A camera that can shoot in manual mode, or at least has controlled settings, so you can fix your shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, or your sensor sensitivity, to make sure that every single photo looks the exact same, has the exact same exposure. And then all you got to do, and this is literally, it's so simple, is keep your camera level and follow a certain track towards or sideways from a subject, and keep one element in the exact same spot for every photo. And you got to be consistent with your photos. And that's literally it. I've shot stuff. I was in San Fran in, I want to say January, for a big big tech client, and we shot stuff on phones from helicopters for this big global launch video. And literally, like, it looked like it was shot on this, you know, huge rig. And then people actually didn't believe that we shot it on phones. And then we had a behind the scenes video come out, which was kind of like, told you so. Like, I don't
Nice.
get, you know, people getting so upset thinking we were illegally flying drones. Like, no, we had all the permits. It was shot from a proper heli. But yeah, we did shoot it on phones, which is pretty funny.
That's amazing.
Actually, on my YouTube channel, I've got a playlist with about 10 videos, I think, about hyperlapse, like shot on phone, shot on, you know, action cameras or DSLRs or mirrorless. But yeah, the concept is just simple. You follow a certain path, lock your settings, shoot at a certain interval, and boom. And then you go into After Effects or another software like Premiere does stabilization as well. But the benefit, and this was one of the questions I got when I announced this stream, why After Effects over Premiere Pro? Doesn't it kind of do the same thing? You can just go much more control and in detail in After Effects. You have more settings that you can fine tune in here, and you have the, you know, manual tracker and stuff as well, as I'm sure we'll go over. But yeah, I got back from Italy last week. We had a little escape to the Amalfi Coast, which was lovely. And on the way back on the last day, I shot a hyperlapse of the Vesuvius volcano, which you can see on the screen here, which is very fun. And yeah, I just shot that on my camera. Could have shot it on my phone, but I did decide to go for the high resolution, higher dynamic range stuff. And I thought I would show you two ways of stabilizing, because people often ask me, like, when this doesn't work, what can I do? But before we do that, I think After Effects for a lot of people is really overwhelming. And I fully understand that because there's so many buttons and panels and
there are a few, yeah.
I mean, so I made a video a couple of weeks back or a couple of months back, which is like 45 minutes long on my YouTube channel as well. And it goes over all the panels in After Effects, all the buttons, what does this do? And I think it's a good, if you are deciding to maybe step away from Premiere Pro or expand from Premiere Pro by linking your project to an After Effects project, it's a good way to start, to be like, all right, this gives me context for time-lapse and hyperlapse editing. So if anything seems too complex today, I think you can rewatch it after you've watched it.
Absolutely, it's the best way to do it. And also, we'll get your YouTube link is now in the chat, so people can go ahead and go to that. So there we go. Of course, and so they should. Quick question from Sean, and I'm sure the answer to this is yes, but just to check, have you got a bracketing set up for the HDR? So are you?
No, I don't. I have shot like that, but for a hyperlapse, because you need every frame. Okay, so there's multiple ways to shoot hyperlapses. This one was shot from a boat. You can't really shoot a proper HDR bracket sequence on a movie.
No. That's so tricky. Yeah.
If I was to shoot it on mainland on a tripod, no issues. You know, fire off your bracketed sequence. But the way I shoot hyperlapses usually is just handheld. I've got my camera here. Yeah, I think I showed this last time as well. So, literally, imagine I'm standing up. Oh, yeah, I can't show that because then I'm out of screen. But yeah, I'll shoot like this. Click, click, click.
Yep.
Repeat 200-300 times.
Yep.
And the reason I do it like that is because you're just way more efficient, super fast, handheld versus tripod. Just, you know, you're much speedier. And I used to do a lot of festival work, and I would, you know, have 2 to 3 times as many sequences as other people shooting on tripods. Obviously, the benefit of a tripod is you can extend your shutter and have nice motion blur because you're using longer exposures. But the majority of my shots, I want to say 99%, are all shot handheld from, mainland or boats or planes or trains or helis. Actually, I don't think I've shot from a train. Should add that to my list.
There you go.
Let's see. So workflow, as far as the hyperlapse goes, when you're shooting a RAW file, back to that HDR bit. There's so much data in a RAW file these days that I find it very rare that I wish I shot an actual bracketed shot, because the dynamic range from modern day sensors give you so much latitude,
really wide
highlights that you know, you almost don't need. Obviously, there's exceptions, but you almost don't need a bracketed sequence. If anything, it just again slows things down and is much longer to edit in post. But yeah, just raw files. Now the issue with raw files is it just takes forever to preview them because it's just raw data. So even if you load it in After Effects, it takes forever to preview a sequence of raw shots. Now imagine that for every raw frame, it has to also stabilize that. So I shoot hyperlapses as both raw and JPEGs at the same time.
Yep.
Obviously, not every camera has that write speed, or every memory card has the write speed for that if you're going at a fast pace. But the reason I do that is very simply, JPEGs are much smaller file sizes, much easier to read for every software. So as I'm color grading that raw sequence that I shot, in the background, I'm stabilizing a JPEG sequence in After Effects. Once the stabilization is done and my color grading is done, I just replace the JPEG sequence in the background. You kind of say, literally replace the footage.
Yeah.
And it,
almost using it as a proxy then. So
exactly,
yeah.
But
Nice.
A lot of people don't fully realize what proxy usage is when they begin.
No, true.
But yeah, just replace it. And the good thing is, because you shot it as a JPEG and RAW, the resolution's the same, so everything is the same. And After Effects is like, okay, I'll just apply what I applied to this JPEG sequence to this RAW sequence, and then export it to a high resolution file. This gives you, 14-bit or 12-bit, depending on what you're shooting with, color depth and all that, versus an 8-bit JPEG. So you won't have banding in the sky. If you have a big gradient, you've got more colors, etc. So that's the reason why I always recommend shooting JPEGs and RAWs at the same time. Also, it's negligible in file size. A RAW file is probably 25 to 35 to 40 megabytes. A JPEG's like, I don't know, 5 to 10. I don't really know these days. And storage is so cheap. And the added benefit is you can render a quick preview of your JPEGs so quickly. It's much less intensive to render that as a quick preview. So if the shot, worked well, or if you just want to share something on social quickly, to have to wait on that raw file or that raw sequence to be processed just takes a while. Anyways, that's a lot of theory. I feel like we should go in.
But it's all good background, and everybody's getting nicely settled in. They're loving your lighting, by the way.
Oh, that's good. I've got it. Yeah, it's my YouTube setup. I bought some smart lights, and I can control them with my phone.
There we go.
The YouTube setup or the streaming setup. That's good. Investment well done.
Nice.
So, for the sake of efficiency and speed, I'm not going to be stabilizing a raw sequence because we need like a 4-hour stream. But I will show you what this hyperlapse looks like. So the shot here, it's already, let's go quarter. That's going to be kind of the end result. So that's Mount Vesuvius here,
nice.
Shot from a boat. Now this looks great, but if you show the straight out of camera, it just looks horrible because I'm literally on this boat, like trying to keep the.
Well, it's a boat, right?
So to import, obviously you can go to File, Import, and then hit File, or I usually just double click. This is the folder that the photos are in. Because they're in a sequence, After Effects recognizes that it's a sequence. And I'm also going to create a composition from that sequence that I'm importing. If you don't do that, I've seen people create a composition and then import footage, but then the composition's the wrong length, etc. So I'm always like, import the file and then create the working comp that you're going to be working in from that file, because you adopt the aspect ratio, resolution, all that stuff straight away. So pretty much Hyper Vesuvius, just these JPEGs. I made some low res, again, proxies today, because it'll speed things up. So straight out of camera is that. Not ideal. Not soothing.
Do you know that's still not too bad though, considering it's from a boat, right? It's
true.
It's pretty good framing on your part, given that you've got a fraction of a second to make that determination.
I would say that's just 10 years of experience.
Let's say that.
I can actually shoot it while I'm walking. I can shoot it very slowly. But then,
wow,
that's something that a lot of people don't realize is there's two elements to what makes a hyperlapse so impressive. There's the movement, which seems, gimbal-like or rail-like, but there's also the passing of time. And if you're shooting from a car, you're only just slightly faster than real-time video. It just kind of looks sped up and you'll still be stabilized. Whereas if you take your time, like 5 seconds between each photo, or if you shoot at a sunset where the light changes, it's this otherworldly effect and impact that it's got on people. They're like obviously impressed by the motion of it, but also the passing of time. They're like, wait, what? Wait. And I love that. I love showing people a proper hyperlapse for the first time because they just cannot wrap their head around it. And that's what happened to me when I watched one for the first time. I was already doing time lapse for a bit, and I thought I knew, time lapse photography quite well. And then I saw a hyperlapse, and I was dumbfounded. I just didn't know what was going on. So I did a bit of research, and then playing around in After Effects, and it was funny. I think we talked about this last time. Anyways, so 2 ways you can stabilize stuff like this. There's the warp stabilizer, which is so simple. So I've got this composition here. You can go to effects and presets and drag the warp stabilizer on there, or you can go to the tracker panel, which a lot of people don't realize, which also has stabilized motion, which we'll talk about later. But click that warp stabilizer. I always go 10% smoothness, which I find is a nice balance between stabilizing but not too much. We're gonna let this run. Luckily they're kind of low res, so this is going fast. It was like 10 minutes before this. They're very slow stream if we have to do that. Instead of applying a lot of smoothness at once, where you crop and you get maybe weird motion, we're just gonna add one warp stabilizer, then we're gonna make a new composition. We're gonna have a look at the result here. So it's good, but it's kind of still a bit jumpy and there's some weird effects there. So literally right click the comp you're working in, create a new comp from selection, hit that warp stabilizer again, add 10% again, and boom. There's no one way to edit. Every sequence is different. And that's the beauty of time lapse. Every cloud's different, every sunset or sunrise is different, and every shot has a different way to edit it. But the more you do it, the more you realize what you can do to fix a very jittery, very jumpy shot, I guess. Yeah. So now, hopefully, I think I tested this before, it'll look much better. And these 2 applications of the warp stabilizer at 10% are nicer as a result than one application of a 20, 30, 40, or 50.
Right, because it's soft and it's almost like layering the effect on as you would if you were finely.
As opposed to like one big dab of So that looks great, right? That looks much, much better.
That is a great tip, that is a really good tip.
Now, there's a bit of rotation involved, right? It kind of wobbles. It's not because I'm on the boat, it's just because there's moving clouds in the top half of the frame, there's moving water in the bottom. The only real stable thing is Mount Vesuvius. So what you can do for that, and we're just going to go create a new comp from selection to start with a fresh composition, I guess, is you can go to the Stabilize Motion tab or button. And what this does is it opens up this layer here, gives you a tracking point. We don't really care too much about position. We care about rotation. And that gives you 2 tracking points. And then you literally, let me zoom in a bit here. That's too much. Drag these to something that is visible throughout the entire shot. And because it's a slightly low res, it's not the easiest to track. But here's a bright white patch that'll work. And here's another little bit that'll work. And so they're quite far removed from each other. And I think, is that the one I was talking about? I think that'll work quite smoothly. Just to, where was I? Yeah. I shouldn't have made these low res. Oops. There we go. Let's try that. Yeah. Now with this one, the Adobe website actually explains this better than I can do it. But there's like the inner box is the pixels that you're gonna look for inside the bigger box on the next frame. Does that make sense?
That's it. Yeah. Yep. It says, look for this in this kind of region. That's basically it. Yeah.
But then what's this little anchor point in the middle? Because that also has a...
That's the target path between those two things.
Okay.
So
I've never really had to use it that much, so it's not my specialty, but there we go.
it's just basically like saying it's from here to here, rather than just being two arbitrary points in space. It creates a definite spatial link between the two things. That's the way I understand it anyway.
Okay. Now I know this is going to work because I tried it earlier. Now you hit analyze forward, or you can go frame by frame, which is something I've had to do for shots that are extremely wobbly, where you then go and adjust it frame by frame.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and sometimes you need to do that, especially if a subject is momentarily obscured as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this, that was weird, looks all right. I hope it does. Now, yeah, it's kind of moved. That looks like a big issue. But let's hit apply anyway and see what happened. Yeah, the majority of that wobble is gone, as you can see by the footage actually, or the sequence going kind of sideways there in the ends. So what you can then do to get rid of these is adjust your resolution or your scale of the footage, or you adjust your composition to be slightly smaller so that you don't, zoom in on pixels digitally, I guess. And yeah, that's kind of the two ways that I stabilize hyperlapses to get them to where I really want them to be. Now, again, you can adjust this tracker manually if you have to. And that is, it's just a lot of like, I don't know what you call it, in detail editing. It's very slow, but it's kind of therapeutic as well. And then the end result is, really great footage. I just love these clouds. Again,
that's been remarked on in the chat as well, that the flow of the clouds is beautiful. That's a little way back, I think, in the chat, but yeah, love the cloud flow. Sandrine, there we go.
So nice. Then there's a little bit of flickering involved in the sky. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Maybe my shutter speed, or I don't think my aperture was closing differently. That's an issue with time-lapse photography. It's like one of the giveaways of, it's not a giveaway, it's like a beginner error is when there's flickering like the sequence. So I'll actually be able to use the sequence for future demos when I'm like, this is flickering and this is how you solve it. For a hyperlapse, you need, for a static shot, you can kind of frame blend and that evens out that flicker across, multiple frames. You can use the echo effect for that. There's dedicated plugins that I've made a video about as well. For a hyperlapse, you can't really use the echo effect because then you're blending moving elements in your frame as well, and then you get weird ghosting on that boat, etc. But yeah, that's very easy to solve. I've got a plugin. Where is my? It's called Flicker Free, and literally just drag that on there. Pretty much flickering is gone, which is great. Very simple.
So cool.
So that is Vesuvius. Let me save real quick. This is footage from another trip to Italy I did. Let me just start fresh. And let's start fully fresh. Let me re-import that. I think that was here. Yeah, again, great clouds. These are lenticular clouds here at the top. You see how they kind of regenerate locally, and then there's different clouds here. But yeah, shot was very wobbly. We were at this restaurant view, whatever deck. It was quite windy with a long lens. Everything's jumpy and jittery. Here, the beauty of the warp stabilizer is instead of smoothing the motion where it'll try and stabilize it, you go and just hit no motion, and then it locks the shot, and it only crops in slightly.
Wow.
It'll take forever, so I'll just show you the finished shots.
That's okay.
Which I have here, and yeah, it's rock solid. Now, say the warp stabilizer doesn't recognize what it's supposed to be doing. again, you can just go to the tracker panel, and what you can do then very easily is go to stabilize motion and then have position, and you choose just one element again that's in the frame for the whole shot, and then just tell it to lock there on position X and Y when you hit apply, and that's it. And that's often much faster to process than the warp stabilizer, because the warp stabilizer is magic. I assume is it Sensei powered? Do you know?
I don't know if that one is actually, but quite possibly though.
It's gotten
quite possibly
so much better over the years.
Yeah.
But it takes a bit longer, because I assume it's just a way more complex algorithm that takes into account so many things, like also synthesizing edges and stuff. When it, you
I mean, all of those content aware thing has got a big boost with from Sensei and the machine learning thing. But I don't, whether this one is off the top of my head, I don't know. But Tim will no doubt whisper in my ear in a bit and tell me if it is or it isn't. So.
Now, that's the faster way to stabilize for specific circumstances. And that's just like, I get a lot of people asking me online on Instagram and YouTube, like, how do you do this and how do you do that and what should I do here? And I mean, just try it. Just try multiple things, fail and learn. And that's kind of my advice that I always give, is like, shoot, fail, try, learn, and then repeat. The only reason I've made so many videos about all these things is because I've done it so many times, and I've had to,
And that is the thing, isn't it? I mean, most photographers, in fact, most of all sorts of creative professionals, especially photographers, get, you take lovely pictures, you must have a great camera. That's the first thing they get asked. And then the second thing is, how do I make my photos as good as yours? And the answer is always the same, is go out, take more pictures, be a bit analytical of what you're doing, and then
I thought the answer was go and watch more YouTube videos.
Or go and watch more YouTube videos. Well, I mean,
I do see that so many people, they just watch and ask and ask. And like, you won't learn until you actually go out and feel what you did wrong. Yeah, that's the best way to learn. And I still mess up all the time. One of the most common mistakes I make is, I've actually done it twice on this last trip, is not sticking around to verify that it's actually started the time lapse. Because with certain cameras, if you don't put them in time lapse mode, you'll hit start and you'll hear the click, but that's only because you hit the button. And then 10 seconds later, it's supposed to do the second click. But I was already back in bed then because it was a sunrise. And then you wake up again afterwards and you're like, oh, let me go check my shot. Was it a beautiful sunrise? And there's one photo in the whole memory card.
Yeah.
And, like, and then I did that mistake again the next day.
Yeah. No, it's easily done. It is easily done.
But other stuff like that is not disabling lens stabilization, because once you're shooting on a tripod, depending on the camera, but a lot of systems are then actively looking for motion with an optical stabilizer, which induces extra motion in the shot, which is not great. And there's all these things. I've got a new video coming out soon. I'm working on the script right now, which is like, because I've made a video about it already, like 5 mistakes I often make, or time-lapse photographers make, and then there's a new one coming. And eventually I'll get to the end of mistakes I make. I hope.
You work really, really hard, because you've got all of those things on the YouTube channel. The only one we were talking about, you've got a book. You created a book for people during lockdown, right? People who are creative So that's but actually you tell everybody what that's about.
So it wasn't made for lockdown, but it was a freakish accident timing wise. I wrote when was it, a year and a half ago or a bit more, I wrote 2 ebooks about time-lapse photography. I was like, it's time that I monetize this more than just 0 AdSense from YouTube. All this knowledge. I do real life workshops, but that's not scalable. And I have to be somewhere physically to do that. So I was like, let me just pour all my knowledge in these ebooks about time-lapse. So I wrote those, and then I was like, wow, ebooks are fantastic. I provide a lot of value in this. It's easy. There's no hassle with shipping or tracking or anything like that, or fulfilling orders. People love the ebooks. And then it kind of turned into this meta thing where I wanted to teach people how to do what I did, because I'm a, fairly skilled time-lapse photographer, but there's people out there that are really good at design or lettering or vegan baking or gluten-free baking or classic Italian cars, all this stuff that people are so knowledgeable about. I kind of wanted to make something, a framework for other people that are passionate about something, and teach them like, this is how you can monetize that. So I decided to wait a year after my first ebooks launched to use the data that I collected over that year to be like, all right, this is how my ebooks performs, this is how much I made. And in that first year, I made through passive income, which is so digital products like ebooks or presets or templates or whatever, affiliate and referral programs, including the Adobe affiliate program, Patreon or membership websites, and there's another one. There's 5 pillars. I made just over $30,000 passively. Now, passively, it's not really passive because you got to put in the work to keep the machine running, right? Like if I totally stop writing blogs and I totally stop making tutorials and videos and I disappear off the internet, like I don't think that's going to be a very well-oiled passive income machine. So it's kind of passive. But yeah, this new ebook teaches people how to do that regardless of your hobby. As long as you're knowledgeable about something, as long as you know a lot about a certain niche, this book teaches you how to monetize that. And again, very well received, very fun for me to wake up every couple of mornings like, oh, someone bought my book, that's my that's some money covered for that day. Or on holiday, like I had a really good month this month. I was just selling a couple of books every day, and I was like, wow, that's paying for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day.
We do the same thing, I have a couple of back burner things that just sit there. Sometimes they earn a little bit of money, sometimes they earn not quite so much money, but we do that. And when I get a thing saying, oh, you got this much this month after that, I go, yes, curry tonight, thanks so much.
It's the best thing I've done. And it came from my sister, who's a business coach, and she's like, Matt, you're so knowledgeable, you know so much about time lapse, you've got an authoritative voice, people all over the world know you for time lapse and hyperlapse, like why don't you monetize that in this passive way? So yeah, that's what I did. And then the whole passive income thing, it's been great. But the weird thing was that I launched it, I was writing it for weeks or months, and I planned to launch it initially. Again, I wanted to hit the holidays like Christmas. Obviously blew right through that, and then it was going to be Jan and then Feb. Eventually I launched in March, start of March, and here I am plugging this book about passive income for creatives when literally every single creative in the world has lost the majority of their work because of a pandemic. So I felt quite bad promoting it because I didn't want to seem like I was capitalizing on a pandemic, which I wasn't. So what I did is I just sent it to pretty much every creative I knew. I was like, hey, I hope this helps, for free, pretty much. And some of them really loved it and like, wow, I'm gonna redo my blog and build and use all these pillars and systems to get that going as well. And now it's on sale until what are we now? I think for the end of the month. It's on sale, so if you're interested, you can check that out. Yeah,
Tim's dropped a link into the chat for you.
Beautiful.
Do you not think that some people though, because I've found this with a few people, that over the period of lockdown where they've not been able to get to work as such, and they've been furloughed for some of that time, they've actually had a chance to explore some things that they've always wanted to turn into a passion project. And that thing. I hope that some of them have read your book.
I think some
help
people
along
did,
with that,
and that's fantastic. But I don't think we should underestimate how incredibly, how do you say this, unconsciously overwhelming, physically, but mostly mentally, this year has been for creatives. So I don't blame anyone that's like, you know what, I got nothing done. Because I've had major periods where I was just like, I don't know what the F's going on. I have no motivation, no drive. And I feel like, 2020 as a year, or maybe my generation, like it's been so whack. So I don't blame anyone that hasn't been productive, because it's just unprecedented. Like yeah, really don't blame anyone that hasn't taken this time. That's what I don't like about this whole like hustle culture, and you got to be like always on the go, and you got to keep pushing yourself. And yeah, you got to keep pushing yourself, but you also got to be nice to yourself, and you got to give yourself space and time, or you'll hit a burnout, which I've had 2 medium-sized burnouts over my almost 10-year career, and I'm only 30, which is not great. Definitely compounded.
It is great being only 30, trust me.
I'm very grateful. I'm actually turning, what's the date today? 31 in less than a month. So I'm getting older, you know.
Well, happy birthday for then. There you go.
Where was I? Yeah, burnouts, because of this whole keep pushing yourself and just hustle. I don't like that at all. I think you listen to your gut and listen to yourself and be kind to yourself. Because nothing's worse than a burnout. And I feel like this pandemic has felt at times for me like a bit of a burnout, because I was like, what's the point? Like, am I doing the right thing? Like, even the whole passive income thing, which I'm so passionate about, and I'm starting a new channel about it soon as well, because I really do believe that everyone can do this as long as they can provide value to an audience. But then I'm like, what's the point? Like, yeah, I've had a lot of doom thinking, or what do you call that? Because of the whole thing. But honestly,
how did you get around it? If you don't mind talking about it, how did you get around it?
I used to, when I was still in Sydney, I was, so I lived in Sydney for 6 years before I came here about a year and a half ago. I moved to Sydney because I met a girl from Belgium, gave up my whole world and life to go there. And then my career started, and then she's like, hey, I want to move to London. I was like, guess I'll pack everything up again. But yeah, then I came here. But in Sydney, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, or like general anxiety disorder. Nothing too bad, but definitely hit moments where it was quite bad. And that's when I decided to reach out to my GP, my doctor, and be like, hey, I heard about this government subsidized mental health program where you get 10 sessions on with a therapist. So I found a psychologist, and I had 10 sessions with her. And even though she wasn't a great fit for me personally, just the fact that I acted on what I was feeling or wasn't feeling, because I'd lost my drive and I felt like I wasn't creative. I lost my passion. I was like, I got to do something about that. And even though the sessions at the time weren't super useful, because I wasn't walking away with like, you got to do this and you got to do that. The fact that I was acting on it and going through with it for me was a help in itself. But you know, for other people, medication helps. For me, physical activity helps. So I picked up running at the start of the pandemic, which I never thought I would do. But that's been really fun. I ran 7Ks for the first time in my whole life a couple of weeks ago. And then I went to Italy, and then I lost all my progress probably.
But you know, wellness for the soul though, right? As well over there. So
sorry?
Wellness for the soul, of course. Rather,
but I think above all is listen to your gut feelings and listen to yourself, and be kind to yourself, and don't push yourself too hard. And if you're not being creative or productive during a global pandemic where half the world's on fire, be it Australia at the start of the year or the US right now, don't feel bad, because you know it's quite unprecedented, I think.
Yeah. But at least we have no record of anything like this, so it is crazy times.
But what I wanted to say earlier, like streams like this, where you have like this daily collective, or a daily hub community of creatives, where you can learn and see how other people deal with that. I think that's super valuable as well. So I'm actually, when I was told at the start that you guys did this every day, I was like, wow, that is fantastic. So yeah, you'll be seeing me much more in the chat as well.
That's excellent. And we have a Discord as well, Matt, if you want to join that. Really? So yeah, we do. Yeah. So and in fact, quite a lot of people talk on that, right? Well, through every hour of the clock. Really says there's quite a lot going on there. But at the moment we've got. I saw something a moment ago while you were talking about being 30. Just on there, and I did see something that actually tickled me, and I'm struggling to find it right now, but there you go, it's from Steve, who joins us from New Zealand. Steve. There you go, and that's exactly how he greets us every day. There you go. He's done it twice now, 30. It's really good.
Oh, like I see.
Yeah.
2 times. Okay. I was like,
Yep, 32nd
did you
time
have a
around.
birthday
Very,
in New
very
Zealand,
good.
And then you flew to LA and then you turned 30 again? Because I saw someone tweet that.
That's entirely possible as well. Yeah, if you keep racing around the clock, and of course for you as well, because time lapse is a bit difficult when you're at home, right? It's
been a challenging change, especially when even though I don't want to, but you still do kind of link your success as a social media creator, as an influencer, which sounds bad, but it is what it is. Like a lot of my money comes from influencing.
Yeah,
brand deals, working with brands and agencies and stuff. When people are like, man, I really prefer your Australia content over London. I'm like, damn, can't really do much about that. But yeah, I try to, I like to think that people follow me for my skill as a time-lapse photographer, my eye as a time-lapse photographer and editor. No matter where that is based. Like I can make London look really cool, or Italy. I recently, so I went to Italy twice this year. I released just like a compilation of clouds from this lake that we went to, which is a footage that's currently on screen. And it was nice to get that again, because it was just nature and beautiful mountains and clouds. And it's so hard to get that in London. Like I live in the heart of Shoreditch, which is East London, behind a hotel. My view is a grey wall, and it's not very inspiring.
No, it wouldn't be. Just around the corner from Adobe then.
Yeah, it actually is. Yeah, so it's probably a 10-15 minute walk. If I run, I'd be there in 5 minutes, I'd say. Actually, this reminds me, I should really. Are the offices open? Probably not.
No, they're not. Not at the moment.
I should really capitalize on that more and shoot from the Adobe office, because the view from that building.
Oh, you should, up at the top where the bar is and the rest and the gym. Yeah. They've got a running track there as well, there, Matt. So maybe
it's so weird. It's one of my favorite things when I show people around. I was like, that building has a running track at the top, and they're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know.
busy executives can just pop up, have a run around the track. I know a few people there that run daily, and they would go out and use it. I do not actually. I don't, and I think in the time that I was there, because that came towards the end of my time as on staff at Adobe. I think it was only a few months it was open. Actually, maybe a bit longer than that, maybe nearly a year. But I don't think I ever saw anybody running around it at the time, because the building was so new that they were constantly propping things up for other parts of the building on that thing. But I don't know. But have a word with somebody. I'm sure somebody up there will let you take some shots from the top and maybe have a jog around. So
yeah, that'd be sweet. Yeah, hyperlapse from the running track.
I'll have a word. See what we can do. So.
I just had a look at my, what I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
One of the questions I had is, someone asking, how do you work with After Effects and Premiere at the same time? Which, I was quite amazed by that question, because I assume everybody knows that that's the beauty of the Adobe. I know this isn't an ad stream, but that is the beauty of having an umbrella software system where you can literally just open a shot in After Effects and then go back to Premiere. So maybe that's something I can show real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Because I feel like there's more I wanted to share, but my morning's been a bit all over the place, to be honest. Any questions, by the way, from the...
They are pretty much just, it's appreciation of your work, mainly. I did see something a little way back. Lots of people talking about running and about wellness. I think you struck quite a chord with the looking after yourself.
I love
both.
talking about this, because it's so important. And sadly, where I'm from in Belgium, I actually don't really know what it's like here. But in Sydney, there's a big push. There's all, Are You OK Day every year, which is where these organizations work with influencers to talk about mental health and checking in with mates and friends or family. And as I said, I've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, which by now I can recognize, like when I've got like a bad couple days coming up. And it's funny because it's very much linked to my behavior on social media. If I become incredibly cynical and easily upset about stuff that I see on social, be it on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I'm like, oh, you're going through a bad spot right now. You should probably take some time away and focus more on eating healthy and physical fitness and all that. It's just, it's like a poker tell for me, for myself. And it's very, very...
But that you recognize it is excellent.
Yeah, totally. Because I know, people really close to me, they think they are on top of it, but they're not at all. And then it's hard to talk about that. But it's good to hear that it resonates because, I don't really know what it's like in the UK. I guess we do have a global audience, but it's so incredibly important to be aware of it and treat it if you feel like it needs treatment, or to come to that conclusion anyway.
You'll find a lot more segues on television at the moment. So between things where you get a small bumper, which are aimed at encouraging people to talk and encouraging people to take time out for themselves. Because I think we actually have been, as a nation, have been really bad about that in the past. This is the first year where I've seen that so proactively.
That's good. Focused especially during this pandemic, the isolation. Like, I've been incredibly fortunate to isolate, or when lockdown was happening here, with my girlfriend Amelia, and we get along so well. But there's people that might be locked in with not a great person, or with no one at all, and just struggle or suffer from really isolating by themselves. So it's good to see that there's at least something happening from a government point of view to talk about that, or to try and deal with it, I guess. But education about it is important. And that's why it's good to hear that the audience right now is responding to it well. And whenever I do talk about it on any of my channels, the feedback's great. And I wish it was more normalized, almost to the point where I wish the feedback wasn't that great, because that means that we're still not there yet, that it's not normalized. You know what I mean? I'm gonna swim. I booked a swimming session in London Fields this week, because I realized in Italy we had a pool there. I used to swim almost every day, and it gave me so much joy. And then I stopped swimming when I moved to Australia, and now I'm getting back into it. I think that'll be, for me personally, a very fun thing.
Well, it's going down very well here, and Angus is saying that it's great to see Matt talk about mental health in a normal, in quotes, matter-of-fact way while smiling. Too much mental health stereotypes of persons with their head in head in their hands, and all of that stuff. So it's good. And a lot of people are talking about that at the moment. So no, excellent. And it is that the more people do discuss it, the more normal it will be to accept the fact that no one's immune to this. No one is immune.
I used to think I was, and my girlfriend was always quite impressed with like how are you so never bothered with mental health issues. She has severe anxiety and takes medication for that, which changed her life, and that's great. I wish that was more normalized as well. But when I eventually did meet a point where I think it was this burnout that kind of triggered it, which came from too much work, and was also the very first time that I hit that moment that everyone warns you about this conversation, like, I'm a hobbyist, do I want to make this into my job, where people warn you like, don't do that because you'll fall out of love with it. I was like, no way, that's never going to happen. And then at one point I was doing so much time-lapse work, traveling, shooting, coming back home, not seeing anyone, editing in a cave, deadlines, rushing, back traveling for like months on end. And all of a sudden I was like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I need to take a break. And that kind of coincided with, just totally losing interests and passion for what I, for my entire adult life, was the most passionate about. And that was scary. It's very scary. But then I talked about it and I acted on it, and that was good. And then I made a video about it, like an update on my YouTube channel. I think I was still vlogging at the time, which I don't really do anymore now. But I made this video, the typical, just kind of neutral, my face thumbnail, an update on my health. A video I made kind of spontaneously, casually, was like a 40-minute long chat about my mental health, which was also tied to a physical issue I was having at the time. I've got an old nerve injury in my hand that was acting up, but it was fascinating to literally have people write me notes from across the world. A guy in New Zealand wrote me a handwritten letter and hundreds of messages and emails and DMs and one of the big things was like people just being so grateful that I opened up about it and helped normalize it for them. It's great, and it's again, it's great to see that there's such good feedback from the chat right now about opening up about mental health, because
I think we've had,
life ups and downs, and
absolutely.
I've gone through some big traumatic experiences in my life, and stuff can get really bad, but then you really appreciate the good times. As bad as that is, and as cliche as that may sound, but yeah, bad times make you appreciate the good times that much more.
It would be really dull if it was sunny every single day.
100%.
It
that's great in London, right?
Well, there you are. Now you've got the perfect balance. It's sunny for one day, and then
you get 1 day of sunshine.
One day, and the rest you've got at least crunchy clouds to play with, which is. I wonder if there's something in that for you. I mean, I'm not qualified to psychoanalyze anybody, but I just, in the back of my mind, I'm kind of wondering if, apart from the fact that the clouds move in all of these different ways and they're inspiring themselves, I do wonder if you were drawn to that initially because, part of you is expressing. You find that I'm finding it very difficult to actually vocalize that, but yeah.
What you're saying is like that's your personal view on clouds, and like, oh, clouds are, to me, clouds are the most amazing thing in the world. So clouds give me a lot of joy and happiness, as opposed to for a lot of people, they're like, clouds. When I'm traveling and I see a blue sky, I'm like, oh, boring.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
To the point now that my girlfriend as well, Amelia, she's like, oh, great clouds today. Like, she's looking out around sunset. She doesn't shoot herself at all, but she knows it brings me a lot of joy. So yeah, now I've changed I've got a newsletter as well, and I'm trying to finish every newsletter with like, may your skies be filled with, and then a type of cloud. Just trying to educate people about clouds, because clouds are beautiful.
They are,
and they're just a great. I don't know, something we take for granted a lot, and they can be so fascinating. Let me just find this one. I mean, just like the ones we saw in that hyperlapse, but we had some.
I love crunchy clouds. I really do.
This is at night. This is like the near full moon. Just beautiful stuff. You couldn't see those rays, but the camera picks them up, quite well. So many clouds, and then on the final day I shot like 3,000 images. We had these crossbarred clouds that turned into, it was literally the craziest day as far as clouds go that I'd seen. These are mammatus clouds above us, booby clouds, because they're like drop shaped.
Yep.
And this cloud just kept appearing here, and then we had all these wind gusts on the water, and I was literally waiting like, what if we get like a water spout forming in this time lapse? I was going crazy.
that would be bad.
And then we had a cloudy sunset, and I was like, oh, that's not nice. And then wait, what happens? I think it's this shot. But you think like, oh
yeah, I can see it starting to warm up in
yeah. And then
there we go, fire.
Literally, the whole sky was orange, and these clouds were moving in ways that I was like, oh,
that's amazing.
Looks like we're at the bottom of the ocean looking up.
Yeah.
The waves, and it was surreal. And then it started raining, which made the glow even better. And then, yeah. So to me, clouds are always fun. Love clouds. But I don't really know how I kind of fell in love with clouds. I think my family took us to that lake that I made that time-lapse film about every summer. And there's always cool clouds there. And maybe that's where it came from. I don't know.
No, they are fantastic.
20,500 time-lapse photos to edit. Something, if you're interested in time-lapse editing and long-form content, I have I posted this 3 weeks ago, I think, a 2.5 hour long video on my YouTube channel where I use Lightroom and After Effects to edit 12,000 photos. And it just shows the whole process, and it shows mistakes I make, and it shows stuff that I learn. And then at the end of the video in After Effects, there's chapters. I made my workflow even more efficient. This workflow that I've had for like 5 years by mapping, what do you call it, like custom keyboard combinations to my mouse.
Yeah.
It has all these extra buttons. And it's this discovery process in that video, which I think is it's quite fun to watch. And I didn't really expect anyone to watch it, but yeah, a lot of people did. A lot of people watched 2.5 hours of me just kind of,
Well, that's a full-on motion picture, right?
Right?
That's a full-on motion picture. That's a
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It was shot during that heat wave 4 weeks ago, whenever that was.
Oh wow. Okay.
Horrible, but it was fun. It was my first try at that long form stuff. I want to do it as a live next time, but I need to. Maybe you can give me some tips on how to do a proper live.
Oh, you need to talk to him.
Because I think that would be fun for the community, just to tag along, and then I don't have to fill the audio the whole time. If I can read and chat with the audience in a chat, I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
For that Premiere link, real quick, in case people do want to check that out, drag footage in there. Quick timeline or sequence. Didn't I just drop that there? Yeah. Say you want to stabilize this. I think I already did stabilize that one, or maybe not. You literally just right click on that, and if you've got After Effects installed, replace that with After Effects composition, and then it opens up as a sequence in After Effects. You can add whatever it is that you want in here, like this would be silly. Just to give an example, hit save, and then you go back to Premiere, and then that's that. So it's an incredibly smooth link between After Effects and Premiere. The whole round tripping thing is something that's it's beautiful.
It is.
You just got to keep stuff organized.
Yeah,
because it's very easy to end up with a file or like a project window with hundreds of sequences and compositions and folders. I'm very big on efficiency and organization. I think I did a lot about that last time. Yeah,
because nobody likes wasting time, right? That's the thing. It's your own time and the creative flow that you're losing.
It's not. It's like having a clean car drives nicer, right? Or a clean apartment just feels nicer to live. A clean project folder or file works more efficiently. Plus, say and I get this a lot. Years down the line, I get asked to. Someone wants to license a time-lapse clip, and I need to remaster it because I, left some birds in or a little wobble or a shake, and they're paying me, big money for this shot. I better make sure it's clean. So I've got this whole system set up that every project file has the same folder structure, and they have the same naming scheme. And because of that, it's very simple, very easy for me to just go and find the shot and re-edit it. Whereas if you don't stay organized, you're going to spend so much time looking for footage or looking for clips that you want to remaster and you can't find because it's spread out on a hard drive somewhere in an obscure final_real final exports. So be as efficient as possible. And that's what was so fun about discovering that I can kind of key or map certain key combinations on that mouse as well. I think I've asked a couple of other people this, but there's a piece of software called P6er, which you can use to map Lightroom controls to a Behringer sound mixer. Okay.
So you can just go ahead and when you on a sound mixer, when you punch in different effects and whatever, you can use it exactly that way. So you can think, okay, this one, and then you can shuttle as well between the stuff. But it's sort of a niche group that do it, but it looks really, really cool.
Yeah, love that. There's a brand, Loop Deck or something. They make like Lightroom control panels.
The bolt together ones.
Yeah. I've never used those. I wonder if they would speed up my workflow. Maybe. But then my grading's always like, I don't color grade too much because I like to believe that what I shoot already looks really good, and I shoot nature as it is. You know, if you shoot around golden hour, if you shoot astro or nice clouds, like you can't grade them too extremely because they'll look silly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but no, it gets a bit Matrix-like though when you're sort of going twiddle.
Yeah, it would be cool. I would like maybe I'll set up like
it would look awesome though. It certainly would. Anyway, but unfortunately, our time for today is pretty much at an end.
Yeah, I think I'm doing another one with Joe Allen soon.
Yes.
Not sure when, but yeah.
You two are both super organised, so you'll get on like house on fire.
Actually went shooting a couple of weeks ago. Or maybe time's weird in a pandemic. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Very, very fun. I really enjoy doing these, and it's great to be hosted by people like yourself that are good hosts and a great audience. Even though I can't see the chat, but
we have a great community here. Really, really fantastic, and they've loved watching the techniques and the process. But what they've also really, really loved is you opening up and talking about real human things as well, and I think that's important, you know, to really, really important.
That's good.
And there you are. So no, fantastic. Well, don't forget, everybody, we are here every day every weekday at least between 12 and 1. So do join us. Tomorrow we've got Maria Lachero doing some Lightroom stuff with my friend Maddie. Maddie will be here tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday with Klaus Shavinsky, who is amazing. He was on the German stream, those of you that follow the German streams as well. But whatever you're doing this week, stay happy, stay creative, and keep an eye on what's going on in here. Okay, take care. Cheers, Matt. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.